The snow that night didn't fall gently. It came down in harsh sheets, slapping the pavement as if the whole world was warning her. Harper Ellington stood on the front porch of the house she used to call home. One hand on her small belly, the other gripping the doorknob that would no longer open for her. She had been waiting for Cole Maddox to come home, believing he was working late. But the moment he stepped out of that black Mercedes, she smelled it, the faint perfume that wasn't hers, a sweetness too sharp, too bold. Cole didn't hide it. He didn't even try. His shirt was wrinkled, his tie missing, his eyes cold with the kind of distance a woman recognizes only when the love is already gone. "Harper," he said, pulling off his watch like it weighed him down. "I need space. I need freedom. Sienna understands me. You don't. If you Frude." Her heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear the rest, but she caught the most painful words. "She's pregnant too, Harper, and she's not holding me back." Harper felt the world tilt. She was 3 months pregnant. Exhausted, alone. Her knees weakened as Cole opened the door, just long enough to toss her small suitcase onto the steps. The same suitcase she had used on their honeymoon, back when promises felt real. The porch light flickered, casting shadows on her shaking hands. She begged him to calm down, to think, to come inside and talk like adults, but he wouldn't meet her eyes. He stepped inside, and with a soft click, the door closed, locking her out of her marriage, her home, her past. Harper took one step into the snow, feeling it soak through her shoes. She wrapped her arms around herself, realizing Cole hadn't just walked away. He had erased her. And somewhere behind that closed door, she heard laughter, Sienna's laughter echoing through the house she had once filled with love. But the world has a way of circling back. And 7 years later, the man who left her trembling in the snow would slam on his brakes in pure terror when 3 children stepped in front of his luxury car, each one carrying the face he tried to forget. Harper Ellington had never been the kind of woman who demanded attention. She wasn't loud, she wasn't bold, and she certainly wasn't the type to chase luxury or status. She grew up in a modest neighborhood outside Portland, Oregon, where people valued small things, warm dinners, secondhand books, family walks on Sundays. Her mother used to say that Harper was born with soft hands but a strong spine, and the older she grew, the more that truth revealed itself. Before her world fell apart, she lived a simple, honest life. She worked as a freelance illustrator, sketching children's books from a tiny desk beside a window that overlooked pine trees. She wasn't rich, but she was happy. She wore the same denim jacket for years, kept her pencils in an old coffee mug, and saved every extra dollar for the dream she carried quietly in her heart. She wanted a family of her own, one filled with the kind of tenderness she never had growing up. When she met Cole Maddox, she mistook charm for character. He was confident, ambitious, and spoke like a man who knew exactly where he was going. He made her feel seen, truly seen, in a way no one ever had. She believed that love could soften hard edges. She believed people changed when they were loved enough. But she was wrong. The night Cole left her in the snow didn't just break her heart. It broke the version of herself that trusted too easily and forgave too quickly. And yet, even when she was forced to rebuild from nothing, Harper didn't turn bitter. She turned inward. She turned quiet. She learned to survive with the handful of tools life hadn't taken away from her. In the months after she left New York, Harper rented a tiny studio above a laundromat. The walls were thin, the heater rattled, and the stairs creaked under weak nails, but it was hers. She took on any job she could, waiting tables at a diner, stocking shelves during late-night shifts, drawing illustrations long after her eyes burned from exhaustion. There were nights she cried silently while folding piles of children's clothes she bought at thrift stores. Nights when her unborn baby kicked, reminding her she didn't have the luxury of breaking. When her twins, Alex and Jace, were born, and later little Mira, her life became an endless circle of diapers, cold meals, and work shifts that blurred into each other. She slept in 3-hour pockets, often sitting upright so she wouldn't miss a baby's cry. She learned to stretch every dollar, cutting coupons, buying generic brands, fixing old toys with glue and tape, but her children lit a fire in her. Alex's curious eyes studying numbers at age 3, Jace taking apart an old radio and putting it back together at 4. Mira memorizing entire bedtime stories after hearing them twice. Harper began to realize something quietly miraculous. Her suffering hadn't just shaped her. It had forged 3 children with minds sharper than she ever imagined. They were her strength, her hope, her chance at rewriting their future. Still, she carried one fear deep inside her, one she never voiced aloud. What would happen the day Cole Maddox discovered the 3 children who looked just like him? That answer arrived much sooner and much more dramatically than she ever expected, when fate dragged her back toward the man who had once left her shivering in the snow, and toward a truth powerful enough to shake his entire world. New York City had a way of swallowing people whole. Its towers glittered like sharpened knives, beautiful from afar but merciless up close. When Harper Ellington stepped into Manhattan years later, holding a worn leather portfolio and 3 kids trailing behind her, it felt like stepping into a world designed for people far richer, faster, and colder than she had ever been. This wasn't Portland anymore. This was the city where power walked on polished marble floors, where wealth lived behind glass walls 50 stories above the street, where names like Maddox Financial appeared on billboards that glowed even at noon. Harper had never imagined returning to the same city that once broke her. But life, as she learned, didn't wait for people to be ready. When Grant Whitaker invited her to Manhattan to discuss illustrating his company's new children's literacy project, she didn't see it as an opportunity for revenge or redemption. She saw it as survival, maybe even a new beginning. Their rented Airbnb was small compared to the skyscrapers around it, but to the children, it was a castle. From its window, they could see the Hudson River glimmering in the morning light. Jace pressed his forehead to the glass, eyes widening as yellow cabs streamed below them like busy ants. Alex stood silently, studying the skyline as if solving a puzzle. Mira spun in circles, declaring the apartment had city magic. Harper's heart ached. This city had once taken so much from her. But watching their excitement, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. The setting began shifting around her life in ways she couldn't have predicted. Meetings with Grant took place inside Whitaker Innovations headquarters, a sleek tower on Park Avenue, lined with chrome, warm wood, and glass walls overlooking Central Park. Employees passed by carrying iPads and coffee cups, speaking softly but confidently, the way people did when they believed in their work. Grant treated her not as a charity case, not as a fragile single mother, but as an artist. He walked her through rooms filled with prototypes, storyboards, and teams brainstorming ideas. The air smelled faintly of fresh ink and roasted coffee. Something about it awakened the part of Harper she thought she had lost. The woman who loved creating, dreaming, building. But Manhattan was not just skyscrapers and opportunity. It was also the place where Cole Maddox had reinvented himself as a polished executive with photo shoots, board meetings, and a spotless public image. He now lived in a luxury residence overlooking the Empire State Building, drove a black Mercedes S-Class, and attended galas where the wealthy drank champagne beneath chandeliers the size of cars. And fate, with its cruel sense of timing, kept drawing Harper closer to the spaces where Cole moved. One afternoon, while meeting Grant at a bookstore cafe near Bryant Park, Harper caught her reflection in the window, city lights behind her, portfolio under her arm, children laughing beside her. She realized she no longer looked like the woman Cole abandoned. She looked stronger, firmer, certain. But she didn't know that Cole was only 3 blocks away, stepping out of a town car in a tailored navy suit, preparing for a meeting that would bring him directly into her world again. New York was shrinking the distance between them with every passing hour. And the moment they finally crossed paths would not just change their future. It would trigger a chain of events no one, not even fate itself, could stop. Cole Maddox had always believed that life rewarded strength, and strength, to him, meant never looking back. He grew up in a small Ohio town where success was measured by the size of a paycheck and the shine of a new truck. His father, a man with a temper and a drinking problem, taught him early that feelings were weaknesses. Men win by taking, he used to say. Cole absorbed that lesson so deeply it shaped every choice he made as an adult. By the time he reached his 30s, Cole had perfected the image of a rising executive. Tailored suits, confident stride, a voice that filled boardrooms. He wanted the world to bow to the version of himself he had built, not the broken boy he had once been. So when he married Harper Ellington, a woman who saw goodness instead of ambition, he convinced himself it was love. Maybe at first it was, but over time, he saw her softness as limitation, her warmth as a burden, her quiet dreams as something that held him back. Then came Sienna Vale. Sienna was everything. Harper wasn't sharp, loud, polished, ambitious. She worked in PR, understood power, and knew how to use charm like a weapon. She saw Cole not as a man but as a ladder, and he mistook that attention for admiration. She whispered things Harper never would. "You're meant for bigger things. Thanks for watching. You're wasting your potential. You deserve someone who matches your drive." Cole began to believe her. He convinced himself he had outgrown Harper. He convinced himself Harper didn't fit the life he wanted. The night he pushed Harper away, he told himself he was choosing a future. He thought Sienna would be the partner who sharpened him, lifted his image, made him look like the powerful man he pretended to be. And for a while, it worked. He rose in the ranks of Maddox Financial. He shook hands with billionaires. He took photos at charity galas. He bought a luxury condo overlooking the Empire State Building, decorated with glass, steel, and a coldness that matched the inside of his chest. But the higher Cole climbed, the more cracks began to show. Sienna demanded more gifts, more status, more proof he was worth her time. She controlled his schedule, corrected his clothes, shaped his entire persona to fit the image she needed. Cole didn't notice he had become a puppet. He didn't notice how far he had drifted from reality. He didn't notice how much of his career had begun to rely on bending rules. And when rumors of financial inconsistencies began circulating around the office, Cole brushed them off. He was untouchable, he told himself. Men at his level didn't fall. His charm had always saved him before. His ego became a shield he couldn't see through. What Cole never imagined, not even in his darkest dreams, was that the truth would come from 3 children he had never met. Children carrying his eyes, his jawline, his fire. Children who had inherited his brilliance, but none of his blindness. Children who saw through him the moment they learned his name. And while Cole strutted through Manhattan believing he controlled every piece of his world, fate was already shifting under his feet, preparing a moment he could not escape, the moment he would look into those children's faces and feel fear for the first time in his life. The night of the Bright Horizons charity gala was supposed to be ordinary for Harper Ellington, just another work trip, just another meeting the next morning with Grant Whitaker's team. She had no intention of attending the gala. She didn't own a gown. She didn't belong among New York's elite. She was planning to spend the night cooking pasta for the kids in their small Airbnb and reviewing sketches for the literacy project. But fate has its own sense of timing. That afternoon, Harper received a message from Grant's assistant. "Mr. Whitaker would like you to join him at the gala tonight. It's an opportunity to meet potential partners who may support your children's book series." Harper hesitated. She had nothing fancy to wear, and the thought of stepping into a ballroom full of wealthy strangers twisted her stomach. But the kids encouraged her, their little faces glowing with excitement. "Mom," Alex said gently, "you've worked hard. You deserve to be in rooms like that." Dable. Grant, noticing her uncertainty, sent a car and a simple but elegant navy gown, modest, soft, and respectful of who she was. Harper tried it on, and for the first time in years, she saw in the mirror not a tired single mother, but a woman finding her strength again. Meanwhile, across town, Cole Maddox and Sienna Vale were already making an entrance. Sienna wore a ruby silk dress designed to be impossible to ignore. Cole escorted her with a polished confidence that drew cameras their way. Reporters snapped photos. Investors greeted him. He had become a man who sparkled under chandeliers. To him, the night was perfect, another opportunity to prove he belonged at the top. That perfection shattered when Grant Whitaker entered the ballroom with Harper on his arm. The crowd shifted, whispered, took notice. Harper didn't try to draw attention. She barely lifted her eyes from the floor. But Grant kept close to her, speaking gently, guiding her through the room as if she belonged there more than anyone else. Sienna noticed first. "That woman," she muttered, narrowing her eyes. "Why does she look familiar?" Cole glanced over, expecting to see another investor's wife, someone forgettable. Instead, his world froze. Harper Ellington. In a gown. In his world, standing beside a billionaire CEO. His heart slammed into his ribs. For a moment, he thought he was hallucinating. How could she be here, looking calm, dignified, better than he remembered? Sienna's grip tightened on his arm. "Cole? What is it?" He didn't answer. Couldn't. Harper, sensing eyes on her, looked up. Her gaze collided with Cole's across the ballroom. The room seemed to hush. Music softened. The air thickened. She didn't flinch, didn't look away. Her face held no hatred, but no fear either. Cole felt something he hadn't felt in years: shame. Grant noticed the tension and stepped protectively closer, his tone low. "You okay, Harper?" She nodded, but her fingers trembled slightly. Across the room, Sienna leaned in, voice sharp as glass. "Cole, why does that woman look like she knows you?" He swallowed, unable to form words, because the truth was circling him, tightening, ready to strike. And as he tried to steady himself, the doors of the ballroom opened again, and 3 small figures slipped inside, ready to change the night forever. Harper Ellington had survived heartbreak before, but nothing prepared her for the moment her past collided with her present inside the gala ballroom. She had walked in, believing she was ready. She had grown, healed, rebuilt herself. But seeing Cole Maddox again, seeing the man who left her shivering in the snow, now laughing under crystal chandeliers, tore open wounds she had buried deep. Every corner of the room felt like it was closing in. Laughter echoed too loud. The orchestra's music pressed against her chest. She tried to breathe, but her lungs rebelled. She excused herself from Grant with a shaky smile and slipped into a quiet hallway, the noise of the gala fading into a distant hum. Her hands trembled as she pressed them against the cool marble wall. "Not now," she whispered, blinking through the blur. "Not here." But memories rushed in anyway. Cole slamming the door shut, the snow soaking through her shoes. The ultrasound in a clinic she had walked to alone. The nights she held crying babies while fighting exhaustion so heavy it stole her sight. For 7 years, she had kept herself moving, never allowing her body or heart enough stillness to fully feel the weight of what she endured. Now that weight came crashing down all at once. Her breathing quickened. A soft sob escaped her. She pressed a hand over her mouth to muffle it, but the hallway was empty. There was no one to hide from. No one except the fears she'd carried silently for so long. What if Cole tried to take the kids? What if his money could destroy everything she built? What if he humiliated her again, this time in front of the whole world? Her knees buckled. She slid down the wall until she sat on the floor, her gown pooling around her. For the first time in years, Harper felt small again. Vulnerable. Breakable. She wrapped her arms around herself, shaking. "Why now?" she whispered. "Why after everything I survived?" Footsteps approached quietly. Grant Whitaker knelt beside her, his expression soft, not pitying, but steady, warm, and deeply human. "Hey," he said gently, offering his hand but not touching her until she reached for him. "You don't have to hold everything in. Not tonight." Harper shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I thought I was stronger than this." "You are," Grant said. "Strong doesn't mean unbreakable. Strong means you get back up afterward." End quote. His words were simple, but something about the way he said them, calm, grounded, sincere, reached the part of her heart no one had touched in years. She let herself lean into him, just enough to breathe again. Grant waited until her breathing steadied, then helped her stand. He didn't rush her, didn't ask questions. He simply stayed beside her. A quiet presence she didn't know she needed until now. But just as Harper was finding her balance again, 3 familiar voices echoed down the hall. "Mom?" Alex, Jace, and little Mira stood at the far end, their faces filled with worry. Grant straightened. Harper wiped her tears quickly. She forced a soft smile for her children, but Alex's sharp eyes caught everything. "Did someone hurt you?" he asked, voice tight. Before Harper could respond, Mira whispered, her gaze drifting toward the ballroom. "Mom, he saw us." For a moment, time froze in the hallway. Harper stood between her 3 children and Grant, torn between protecting the life she had built and confronting the past she never wanted to relive. Her pulse hammered in her ears. Alex's eyes, sharp, calculating beyond his age, shifted toward the ballroom doors. Jace's jaw tightened, and little Mira clung to Harper's gown, her small fingers trembling. Harper knelt, gently brushing Mira's hair from her face. "What do you mean, sweetheart? Who saw you?" Mira swallowed. "The man from the pictures, the one you never talk about. He was looking right at us." Alex stepped forward. "He knows who we are, Mom. Or at least, he suspects it." A cold shiver raced through Harper. She had spent 7 years keeping her children far from Cole Maddox's shadow, believing distance could protect them. She changed states, changed phone numbers, changed everything. But fate, relentless and unkind, had dragged them back into Cole's world at the worst possible moment. Grant watched the 3 children with a quiet understanding. His gaze softened, but his voice remained steady. "Harper, what exactly does he know?" Harper hesitated. Her throat tightened. She had never told Grant, the one man who showed her kindness, with no strings attached, the full truth. She didn't want him to see her as damaged, or as someone carrying a past too heavy to touch. But the moment was here, and hiding from it would only hurt the kids. She drew in a slow breath. "Cole Maddox is their biological father." Grant didn't flinch. He didn't step back. Instead, he nodded slowly, processing the truth with the calmness of a man who had carried his own scars and learned how to hold the weight of someone else's. But the twist was only beginning. Alex reached into his small backpack and pulled out a folded sheet of paper, crisp, precise, and terrifying in its implications. "I didn't want to scare you, Mom," he said, "but we've known for a while." "If he's 7 though," Harper's eyes widened. "Known what?" Jace handed the paper to Grant, who opened it carefully, his brows knit together as he scanned the document. A DNA report. Cole Maddox, 99.8% match. Harper staggered back. "How? When did you?" Jace lifted a shoulder. "I found an old hairbrush in a donation box at Grandpa's house last year. It had Cole's initials on the handle. I ran a test using an online genetics database." Harper stared in disbelief. "You did what?" "I had to know," Alex said quietly. "We all had to know. You never talked about him, and we didn't want to dig up old hurt. But Mom, we also wanted the truth." Harper's heart cracked open, not from pain, but from the overwhelming weight of love and fear. Her children weren't just brilliant, they were brave. Too brave. And then came the blow that shook her knees. Grant folded the DNA report, his expression turning grave. "Harper, this isn't just about paternity anymore. If Cole suspects the kids are his, he might try to use the situation. For reputation, for leverage, for control." Harper felt her breath leave her body. Behind them, laughter from the ballroom grew louder, closer. Cole's laughter moving through the corridor like a storm she could no longer outrun. Jace tugged her sleeve. "Mom, what do we do now?" Harper turned slowly toward the double doors of the ballroom. Because Cole Maddox wasn't just approaching. He was already standing behind them. The moment Harper Ellington turned and saw Cole Maddox standing behind them, something inside her shifted, not with fear, but with clarity. 7 years ago, she would have crumbled. 7 years ago, she would have apologized just for existing in his presence. But now she stood with 3 brilliant children, a growing career, and a strength that had been carved out of hardship. Cole's expression flickered between shock, guilt, and something else, ownership. "So," he said quietly, eyes locked on the children, "they're mine." Harper stepped forward, instinctively protecting her kids. "They're not objects you can claim. They're people. They're my children." He narrowed his eyes. "Our children." The word "our" struck her like ice. Not because he didn't have a biological claim, but because he had forfeited every moral right the moment he left her in that snowstorm. Grant Whitaker stepped beside Harper, posture calm but unmistakably protective. "Cole, this isn't the place for this." Cole shot him a glare. "This is none of your business, Whitaker." Grant didn't blink. "Everything involving Harper and the kids is my business." The tension sharpened. Sienna, watching from down the hall, crossed her arms and smirked as if the entire scene was entertainment for her. But Harper didn't look at her. Harper looked at her children, Alex tense, Jace furious, Mira hiding her face against Harper's dress. And in that moment, something broke open inside Harper. A realization that she was done shaking, done apologizing, done being small. That night, after escaping the tension of the hallway, Harper returned to their Airbnb with the kids. She sat alone by the window long after the children fell asleep, staring at the Manhattan lights glowing like distant stars. She thought of the years she spent struggling, the nights she stayed awake, holding babies while crying into silence, the mornings she pushed through exhaustion just to keep them alive. She whispered into the quiet room, "No more hiding." The next morning, Grant arrived early. He didn't bring pity, he brought purpose. "I know yesterday shook you," he said gently, But if you want to stand your ground, you won't stand alone. If you go with it. He handed her a sleek folder containing contracts, opportunities, and resources she never imagined having. Harper hesitated. "Grant, why are you helping me like this?" He met her eyes with sincerity that made her breath catch. "Because you deserve a life that matches your strength. And because your children deserve protection from the man who tried to erase you." For the first time in her life, Harper didn't pull back. She let herself accept support, not dependence, but partnership. Then came the transformation. Grant arranged a professional stylist, not for glamour, but for confidence. Harper stepped into a quiet corner studio overlooking Central Park. Her hair was trimmed into soft waves. A simple but elegant outfit replaced her worn clothes. When she looked into the mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back. This wasn't the abandoned wife. This wasn't the frightened girl in the snow. This was a woman rising. When Harper walked into Whitaker Innovations later that day, employees glanced up with quiet admiration. She carried her portfolio under one arm and a new steadiness in her stride. Even the children watched her with awe. Mom had become someone unstoppable. But her transformation wasn't finished. As the elevator doors closed behind them, Grant received a message that made his expression darken. "Harper," he said, voice low, "you need to prepare yourself." She frowned. "For what?" Grant turned the screen toward her. It was a headline. A breaking news alert. Cole Maddox's face plastered across it. And the story he was leaking to the media mentioned her children by name. The headline glared back at Harper like a slap across the face. Finance executive Cole Maddox breaks silence, reveals secret about his past family. Underneath, the article hinted at 3 unconfirmed minors he claimed were being used against him. He portrayed himself as a victim, a man haunted by a manipulative ex who had suddenly resurfaced to ruin his career. Harper's breath caught. Her hands trembled. He didn't name the children outright, but he provided enough detail that it wouldn't take long for the media, or worse, the corporate sharks circling him to figure out exactly who they were. Jace clenched his fists. "He's trying to make you look like the bad guy, Mom." Mira crawled onto Harper's lap. "Why is he lying again?" Harper swallowed hard. "Because your father doesn't know how to face the truth." Grant stood behind her, shoulders tense, eyes burning with a kind of anger Harper had never seen from him. "He's desperate," Grant said. "This is what men do when their power starts slipping, they rewrite the story." Harper pressed a hand to her forehead. "I've spent years protecting them, and now he's pushed them into the spotlight. Thanks for watching." "Then we pull you out of it on your terms," Grant said firmly, "not his." He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a folder. "I had my legal team prepare something the day I found out who he was, just in case." Inside were documents restraining protections, statements clarifying her position, and a preliminary petition for legal recognition of the children without giving Cole rights over them. It was more than Harper ever thought she deserved. "Grant," she whispered, "this is a start," he said gently, "but you decide how far we go." Before Harper could respond, her phone buzzed again, this time with dozens of notifications. Social media posts, news blogs, finance gossip accounts, and then one message that made her stomach twist. "Mom, someone from the news is downstairs." "Alex?" Harper rushed to the lobby. Reporters were crowding the sidewalk, flashing cameras, shouting her name, asking questions she couldn't bear to hear. "Miss Ellington, is it true? Are the children his? Why come forward now? Are you seeking money from Maddox Financial?" Harper froze. For a moment, she felt like that woman in the snow again, small, shaking, swallowed by forces she couldn't control. Then Alex, Jace, and Mira pushed through the crowd and stood in front of her like a shield. "Leave our mom alone," Alex shouted, voice trembling but brave. "You don't know anything about her," Jace added. "She's the best mom in the world," Mira cried. The crowd fell silent. Harper burst into tears, not of fear, but of the overwhelming love in those small voices. The one thing Cole Maddox had never understood was standing right here in front of her. These children were not his weakness. They were her strength. Just then, a black luxury sedan rolled to the curb. The door opened. Cole stepped out. The cameras exploded in flashes. Reporters roared his name. He straightened his tie, plastering on the practiced expression of a man who knew how to perform for the world. "Harper," he said coolly, "we need to talk." Grant immediately stepped between them. "No," Grant said, "you don't get to ambush her in public." Cole's jaw tightened. "This doesn't concern you, Whitaker." "Oh, it concerns me entirely," Grant replied, "because you crossed a line today." Cole glared, lowering his voice. "She'll have to speak to me eventually. She can't hide behind you forever." Harper wiped her tears, lifted her chin, and stepped forward with more courage than she felt. "I'm not hiding," she said quietly, "not anymore." The reporters leaned in, sensing a moment about to ignite. And then Cole said something so explosive, so reckless, that the entire street seemed to inhale at once. "Those kids better be worth the trouble you've caused me. If U.S. of Corton." The next morning, New York felt colder, sharper, as if the entire city were holding its breath. The media firestorm surrounding Cole Maddox had grown overnight. Financial blogs questioned his credibility. Investors whispered. Employees exchanged nervous glances in elevators. By 9 a.m., the directors of Maddox Financial demanded an emergency board meeting. Cole walked through the glass lobby with forced confidence, adjusting his tie as if straightening his ego. He told himself he was still in control. He told himself he could spin the story, shift the blame, bury the truth. He had done it before. But as he stepped into the boardroom, its long steel table gleaming beneath soft recessed lights, he sensed something was different. The room was too quiet. Eyes were too cold. And at the head of the table sat Richard Hale, chairman of Maddox Financial, with Grant Whitaker beside him. Cole froze. Why is he here? Grant didn't stand. He didn't need to. Because, Cole, he said calmly, your mess is spilling beyond your personal life. Investors at Whitaker Innovations are questioning your partnership agreement, and I don't like working with men who manipulate children for attention. Cole's jaw tightened. This is a private company matter. No, Richard Hale said, sliding a file across the table. This is a crisis. Cole opened the file and felt his stomach plummet. Inside were screenshots of his leaked statements, analysts' concerns, and accusations that he fabricated a story to shield himself from pending allegations of financial misconduct. Where did you get these? Cole asked. The question, Richard replied coldly, is why we didn't get them from you. Cole tried to speak, but Grant interjected calmly. Your credibility is collapsing, Cole. And the board wants answers. Members murmured agreement. One asked, did you knowingly leak stories involving minors to manipulate public sympathy? Cole stiffened. I had to protect myself. I didn't name them. But you exposed them, another director said. You risked the well-being of 3 children. A woman across the table added, public outrage is growing. Single parents across the country are threatening to boycott our products. Cole's frustration boiled. They're my children. I have a right. Grant's voice cut through, steady as steel. You relinquished that right the night you left their mother in the snow. The room went silent. Cole's face reddened. You don't know anything about that. Oh, Grant said quietly, I know enough. Richard Hale closed the file. Cole, investors want stability, not scandal, not emotional chaos, not manipulation. We may have to suspend you, pending an internal investigation. Cole slammed his hand on the table. This is ridiculous. I built half this company. If you got nowda. Grant finally stood, adjusting his jacket. His voice was low but carried the full weight of truth. You built it on ambition, but you're losing it because of arrogance. Cole glared at him, eyes burning with hatred. This is because of her, isn't it? Harper, she turned you against me. Grant's expression softened for the first time. No, Cole, you did that all by yourself. The boardroom door swung open. Everyone turned. Harper Ellington stepped inside, calm, steady, transformed, holding a document in her trembling hand. Cole's face drained of color. Harper, he whispered, what are you doing here? She stepped forward, voice gentle but unwavering. I'm here because you crossed a line I can't ignore. Cole swallowed. What line? Harper placed the document on the table. A legal filing, one that could cost him everything. And then she spoke the words that made the entire boardroom lean forward. I'm filing to terminate your parental rights. Cole Maddox had always imagined himself untouchable. A man like him didn't fall, he rose, he dominated, he crushed obstacles beneath polished Italian leather shoes. But as Harper's words echoed through the boardroom, I'm filing to terminate your parental rights, the ground beneath him shifted, cracked, and then split open. For the first time in years, he felt something terrifying. He had no control. The board members stared, some shocked, others quietly satisfied. Grant stood near Harper, his presence a reminder that Cole was no longer the center of the world he once controlled. Cole tried to laugh, but the sound died in his throat. "This is absurd. You can't do this. You don't get to erase me." Harper looked at him with a calm he didn't recognize. "I'm not erasing you, Cole. You erased yourself. Years ago. If at Reaver and Contry." Every word sliced through his armor. Richard Hale cleared his throat. "Cole, this legal matter is personal, but the public consequences fall on us. While this is in motion, you'll be placed on administrative leave." It was a gentler phrase than reality. He was being pushed out. Cole clenched his jaw. "You're making a mistake." "No," Grant said quietly. "You made the mistake. We're just acknowledging it." Cole's vision blurred at the edges. Anger and humiliation battling inside him. He stormed out of the boardroom, nearly knocking over a young assistant. Cameras flashed the moment he stepped outside the building, reporters swarming like hornets. "Mr. Maddox, is it true you abandoned your pregnant wife years ago? Do you deny the DNA results? Are you being suspended for misconduct? What do you say about the petition to remove your parental rights?" Cole shoved through the crowd, chest tightening. How had everything unraveled so quickly? How had Harper, the quiet girl who used to cling to his arm, become someone powerful enough to challenge him? He reached his Mercedes, but his hands shook too much to unlock it. A security guard approached. "Sir, the building has requested you leave the premises quickly. There's too much crowding." Even the guard looked at him differently now, like a fallen man, not a powerful executive. Cole drove aimlessly through Manhattan, memories crashing in waves. The night he abandoned Harper, the excuses he told himself, the lies he believed, the life he built on top of a wound he never bothered to close. By afternoon, he returned to his luxury condo, once a symbol of success, now a hollow echo of every selfish choice he'd made. Sienna stood inside, arms crossed, her expression icy. "I saw the headline," she said. "Nice job, turning yourself into a national villain. If you have not agraded." Cole dragged a hand through his hair. "Sienna, not now." "Oh, now is exactly the time." She stepped closer, eyes sharp. "I didn't sign up to be with a man whose career is sinking. I wanted power, Cole, influence, stability, and you just set it all on fire." He stared at her, realizing she wasn't angry because of the children. She was angry because his downfall threatened her status. "Sienna," he whispered, voice cracking, "please, don't leave." She laughed cold, cutting. "You think I'm staying with a man who can't even protect his reputation? You think I'll tie myself to a scandal this big?" He reached for her, but she stepped back. "I'm done," she said simply. "Good luck cleaning this up." She grabbed her coat and walked out, slamming the door behind her. Silence crushed him. He stumbled to the window, looking out at the Manhattan skyline he once believed he owned. His reflection stared back, hollow eyes, trembling hands, a man slowly crumbling. Then his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Your children requested a meeting. Tomorrow. They say it's important." Cole's heart stopped. And the final blow was yet to come, because the kids weren't coming to forgive him, but to destroy the last illusion he still clung to. Cole Maddox barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Harper's steady expression, the board's condemnation, Sienna walking out with her cold smirk of victory. But what haunted him most wasn't the adults, it was the faces of 3 children staring back at him in the photos that had appeared online. His children. Children he had never met, children whose existence he had chosen to forget. At 10 a.m. sharp, he arrived at the small meeting room. The lawyer instructed him to use neutral ground, quiet, private. He straightened his jacket, checked his reflection, tried to steady his breathing. The door opened. Alex stepped in first, older than he imagined, calm, carrying the focus of someone who had studied him long before this moment. Jace followed, jaw tense, sharp eyes filled with unfiltered judgment. Little Mira entered last, holding Harper's hand in memory even though she wasn't physically present, her small chin lifted with surprising courage. Cole swallowed. "Thank you for coming." Alex sat across from him. "We didn't come for you, we came for answers." 17. End quote. The words stung more than Cole expected. He tried to smile, gentle, rehearsed. "I didn't know you existed. I didn't know. That's a lie, Jace said sharply. Mom told us. You left when she was pregnant. You knew exactly what you were walking away from. Cole's rehearsed lines died instantly. Mira leaned forward, small hands folded over the table. Why didn't you want us? He felt the world tilt. Of all the questions he had feared, this was the one that pierced through everything. Money, status, ego. I was selfish, Cole whispered. I didn't think I could be a father. I wasn't ready. Alex didn't blink. Mom wasn't ready either. But she didn't walk away. Cole winced. I know, and I regret. No, Alex interrupted. Regret is what you feel when you lose something you valued. We were never something you valued. Don't pretend now. End quote. Cole felt like he was shrinking inside his own skin. He reached out slightly, but Mira pulled back. Jace opened a folder he carried, sliding papers onto the table. We didn't come here for emotions. We came because we uncovered something. Cole frowned. What do you mean? Alex folded his hands. Your company's financial discrepancies? The ones being investigated? We know where they started. Cole's pulse spiked. What do you think you know? Jace tapped the papers. Enough to prove you moved money from 3 internal accounts into a private fund under a shell company registered in Nevada. Cole's breath caught. His heart pounded. How? How could you possibly? We're not normal kids, Alex said softly. Mom didn't raise us to be victims. Mira nodded. She raised us to be strong. Cole felt sweat gather at his temples. He looked at the documents, recognizing the patterns, numbers he thought were hidden, transfers he believed buried. This information could destroy you, Jace said plainly. Cole's voice shook. Why would you bring this to me? Alex exchanged a silent look with his siblings, then answered. Because we wanted you to know exactly who we are before the world learns everything. The message was clear. They weren't here to bond. They weren't here to reconcile. They were here to show him the future was no longer his to control. Cole swallowed hard. What? What happens next? Alex stood up slowly. That depends on how you act from this moment on. And on what Mom decides, Mira added quietly. Jace packed the folder, pausing only once. You can't fix what you broke, but you can choose whether your fall is loud or catastrophic. They walked toward the door. Cole's voice cracked. Wait, kids, please, what does your mother want from me? Alex turned back, eyes steady, unreadable. She wants the truth, Cole. And she wants it, said out loud. Even over $6. Sienna Vale had always prided herself on knowing how to win. She knew how to charm, how to bluff, how to get men to do exactly what she wanted. For years, she had held Cole Maddox like a puppet on strings, feeding him ambition, polishing his ego, guiding his rise. And for years, Cole believed he was the one in control. But nothing prepared her for the events of the past 48 hours. Her social media had exploded with comments. Homewrecker, gold digger, Azabestov. The reason children were abandoned. Her brand deals were freezing. PR firms pulled back. Even acquaintances stopped responding to her messages. She wasn't just losing Cole, she was losing her status, her influence, the life she had built on careful manipulation. And Sienna Vale did not lose quietly. She paced her apartment with her phone pressed to her ear. No, Sarah, listen, this is temporary. The public forgets quickly. I just need one narrative to flip this story. Explains. Her publicist sighed through the speaker. Sienna, the narrative is already bigger than you can handle. You need to step back. No, Sienna snapped. I step back. I disappear. I need something explosive. Something that makes me look like the victim. Sarah hesitated. Like what? Sienna paused, eyes narrowing. Something that makes Harper Ellington look like the manipulator. Sienna. But she had already hung up. Her mind raced. She pulled up articles, comments, anything that could be twisted. She wasn't aiming for the truth, she was aiming for survival. Then she found it. A blurry photo of Harper entering Whitaker Innovations with Grant Whitaker walking closely beside her. The caption innocently read, "Is there more than business between them?" Sienna's lips curled into a cold smile. Within minutes, she crafted a statement and sent it to 3 gossip outlets known for sensationalism. She claimed Harper had been manipulating powerful men for years, using her children to gain sympathy while preying on wealthy executives. She suggested Grant Whitaker was the latest in her line of targets. hinting their relationship began long before the gala. The story ignited within an hour. Harper's name trended again, but this time with suspicion. Who is the real victim? Did Harper trap both men? Is Grant Whitaker being used? Grant immediately called Harper. "Don't look at the news," he said. "It's garbage. I'm handling it." But Harper had already seen enough headlines to feel her stomach drop. Alex read them too. "She's trying to turn people against you." Jace's eyes blazed. "Mom, we can take this down. Give me an hour and a laptop." "No," Harper said firmly. "We don't fight lies with hacking." But Mira, usually the soft one, spoke with a trembling fierceness. "She's hurting you on purpose." Harper pulled her children close. "People like Sienna only win when we panic. We won't give her that." But the damage was spreading fast. Back in her apartment, Sienna poured herself a glass of wine, satisfied. "That should hold Whitaker off," she murmured. "He'll distance himself soon. And Harper? She'll crumble." But as she lifted the glass, her doorbell rang. She frowned. "Who?" She opened the door. Grant Whitaker stood there, not smiling, not polite, not patient. His voice was low, controlled, dangerous. "Sienna Vale," he said, stepping inside without invitation. "We need to talk about the lies you just unleashed." She swallowed hard, suddenly realizing she had finally pushed the wrong man. And then he added something that made her blood run cold. "Because you've just triggered a legal war, you cannot win." Grant Whitaker had dealt with corporate scandals, hostile takeovers, and boardrooms full of men who thought they could intimidate him. But nothing made his blood boil like seeing Harper Ellington gentle, resilient, hard-working. Harper dragged through the mud by a woman who thrived on cruelty. Standing in Sienna Vale's penthouse, he kept his voice low, but the anger beneath it was unmistakable. "You published lies about a mother who has done nothing but survive your mess," he said. "You dragged 3 innocent kids into your game. You crossed a line." Sienna folded her arms, masking her nerves with a smirk. "You can't scare me, Grant. The public believes what they want. And right now, they want drama." Grant stepped closer. "Then let's give them the truth." He placed a folder on her counter. Sienna's eyes narrowed. "What's that?" "Evidence," Grant said, "of your involvement in multiple communications leaks, targeted defamation, and this is the fun part, your connection to the Shell Corporation tied to Cole's financial discrepancies." Sienna froze. "What?" Grant's tone sharpened. "You think Cole acted alone? You handed him the PR cover. You buried the early red flags. You whispered the strategy that pushed him into crossing legal boundaries." Her face drained. "You can't prove that." Grant gave a slow, chilling smile. "I don't have to. Your emails prove it for me." He turned to leave, but paused at the door. "You should call your lawyer, Sienna. You'll need one." She lunged forward. "Wait, Grant, please. I was trying to protect myself. I didn't mean to involve the kids." But Grant didn't look back. While Sienna spiraled across town, Harper was experiencing something she had never felt before. Public support. The tide was turning. A mother from Florida posted a video defending her. A teacher from Ohio wrote, "Harper is the kind of strength we should celebrate." Even strangers began sharing snippets of her artwork, praising her resilience. Harper sat on the edge of her Airbnb bed, overwhelmed. "Why are people suddenly believing me?" Alex, scrolling through his tablet, answered calmly, "Because the truth is louder when it comes from someone who never asked for attention." Jace looked up from his laptop. "Mom, we traced the leak. It came from Sienna." Harper sighed softly. "I expected that." But Mira, sitting cross-legged on the carpet, shook her head. "No, Mommy. She wasn't alone." Harper frowned. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Mira tapped her forehead gently, the way she did when trying to explain her instincts. Sienna felt scared in the pictures, like she wasn't the one in charge, she was covering for someone. Harper sat still, heart tightening. Because Mira was rarely wrong about people. The knock on the door startled them all. Grant stepped inside, tension on his face. "Harper," he said softly, "I need to tell you something. What Sienna did, it's worse than we thought. And Cole may have been using her to hide something much bigger." Harper's breath caught. "Bigger than the financial discrepancies?" Grant nodded. "Much bigger. Something that could destroy his career permanently." Before Harper could respond, her phone buzzed violently, notification after notification flooding in. Breaking news alert. A new headline. She clicked the first one. eyes widening. Insider leak reveals Cole Maddox may have falsified years of financial records. Source claims a cover-up by close associate. Harper looked up at Grant, voice barely above a whisper. Grant, who leaked this? Grant exhaled. Someone who wanted justice. Harper blinked. Who? Grant hesitated, but Alex stepped forward, expression unreadable. Mom, it was us. Harper felt her knees weaken. And before she could speak, another alert appeared, this time with Cole's furious face front and center. The headlines hit faster than anyone expected. By noon, every finance blog, news station, and Wall Street Whisper network was ablaze with the same shocking story. Cole Maddox accused of multi-year financial fraud, insiders claim massive cover-up. Screens lit up in taxis. Office workers gasped around conference tables. Phones vibrated across Manhattan like a warning bell. Cole Maddox, once groomed as the next face of Maddox Financial, was suddenly the center of a scandal so enormous it threatened to swallow the entire company. Inside the Airbnb, Harper stood frozen as the TV replayed the developing story. A shaky cell phone video showed Cole pushing reporters, shouting at them, demanding they back off as he stormed out of his building. Alex muted the screen. It's starting. Jace sat on the couch, fingers interlocked nervously. We didn't leak anything that wasn't true. We just organized the information. Mira crawled into Harper's lap. Mommy, are we in trouble? Harper wrapped her arms around her daughter, voice steady. No, sweet girl, you told the truth. But now, everything is going to move very fast. Grant stood near the window, watching media vans swarm the street outside. Harper, Cole won't take this quietly. His instinct will be to blame you. Harper nodded. He already tried once. End quote. Grant turned, eyes warm but firm. Then this time, we stay ahead of him. Before Harper could respond, her phone rang. The caller ID made her breath hitch. Cole Maddox. Grant stepped closer. You don't have to answer. But Harper did. For 7 years, he controlled the narrative. This time, she needed to hear him from a place of strength. She tapped the screen. Hello? Cole's voice erupted immediately, raw, furious, unhinged. You think you can destroy me? You and those kids? Grant stiffened. Alex's eyes darkened. Jace clenched his fists. Harper inhaled calmly. Cole, you destroyed yourself. You leaked confidential files, he spat. You ruined my career. No, Harper corrected softly. Your actions ruined your career. The truth just caught up with you. There was a beat of silence. Then a deep, ragged laugh. You think Grant Whitaker is going to save you? He'll drop you the second this becomes a liability. Harper didn't flinch. Grant isn't you. He doesn't abandon people. Cole scoffed. You're naive. You always were. Harper steadied her voice. And you're scared. You always were. That struck him. Hard. His voice cracked. If you keep pushing this, I swear you'll regret. Harper cut him off. No, you won't threaten me. Not anymore. She hung up. The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Then Alex whispered, Mom. He sounded desperate. Grant exhaled slowly. Desperate men make reckless decisions. He turned toward Harper, voice dropping with seriousness. You need protection. Legal, physical, emotional, all of it. But before Harper could answer, the TV flashed again, breaking news. A crowd was gathering in front of Maddox Financial headquarters. Reporters shoved microphones toward Cole as he tried to force his way inside. Someone shouted, Why did you abandon your pregnant wife? Are the children really yours? Are you blaming them for your fraud? Cole snapped. He grabbed a camera, shouting, She set me up. Harper Ellington set me up. Gasps rippled across the crowd. His meltdown was being broadcast live to millions. Grant shook his head. He's losing control faster than I thought. Harper whispered, He's unraveling. But the chaos was just beginning. A second live clip appeared, this time from inside the building. Security guards were surrounding Cole. Board members were shouting. Papers were flying. Cole was resisting, screaming, I built this company. You can't do this. A reporter yelled, Cole, your children requested a second meeting. What do you want to say to them? Cole froze. He stared into the camera, eyes wild, broken, trembling. And then, in front of the entire world, he uttered one sentence that would change everything for Harper and the kids. The world seemed to hold its breath as Cole Maddox stared into the television camera. His face, usually composed, polished, and perfectly trained for corporate optics, was contorted with fear and anger. Reporters shouted over each other, microphones shoved toward him, lights flashing like lightning. And then he said it. "They're not my kids. I don't claim them. I never will." Tupo. Gasps shot through the crowd. Some reporters instinctively stepped back. Others leaned forward, sensing history happening in real time. Within seconds, social media erupted. Hashtags flew across screens. Number, protect the kids. Number, Harper deserves better. Number, Cole Maddox exposed. Inside the Airbnb, Harper felt the words stab through her chest like a blade. She sank onto the couch, covering her mouth. Mira burst into tears. Alex looked like he'd been punched. Jace stared blankly at the screen, expression frozen. Grant muted the TV. "He just sealed his fate," he said quietly. But Harper couldn't celebrate. Those children had already suffered abandonment once. Hearing it again, even through a screen cut deep, Mira sobbed harder. "Why doesn't he want us, Mommy?" Harper wrapped her arms around her daughter, voice breaking as she whispered, "Sweetheart, this isn't about you. This is about who he is, not who you are." End quote. Alex swallowed hard, eyes glossy but determined. "We're not going to let him hurt you or this family again." Jace nodded, though his lower lip trembled. "He can scream all he wants, he can deny anything, but the world knows now." Grant crouched beside them, his tone steady and reassuring. "Harper, the moment he said those words, he legally undermined himself. That video alone can support your petition. He publicly disowned them." Harper blinked away tears. "I never wanted to weaponize the kids. I just wanted to protect them. And now you can," Grant said softly. "He gave you the strongest evidence you could ask for." But the world outside was far from settling. Back at Maddox Financial headquarters, Cole's meltdown spiraled even further. Security tried to restrain him as he shouted accusations at board members, pointing wildly, insisting they were conspiring with Harper and Grant. "You're all against me. By Zeke's. You're trying to ruin me because of her, because of that woman, Harper. She set me up. She always wanted to take me down." His voice cracked on the last sentence, raw and desperate. Cameras captured everything. His polished reputation disintegrated in minutes. Finally, security escorted him out of the building, while reporters followed him down the street, their questions unrelenting. "Do you deny the fraud charges? Are you stepping down? Do you regret your comments about the children? Are you being investigated by federal authorities?" Cole shoved past them, trembling, eyes wild. Inside the Airbnb, Alex whispered, "He looks gone." Grant nodded grimly. "He's unraveling. And when men like Cole unravel, they don't think, they react." End quote. Harper looked up sharply. "React how?" Before Grant could answer, his phone buzzed. He checked it, his expression darkening. "What is it?" Harper asked. Grant exhaled. "An emergency alert for Maddox Financial employees. Someone leaked the internal investigation, files the full list of transactions. Cole is facing federal charges." Harper's breath hitched. "So this is really happening?" "Yes," Grant said, "and it's only the beginning." Business. Before anyone could speak again, a loud knock shook the front door. Alex, Jace, and Mira tensed. Harper stood, her legs unsteady. Grant moved instinctively in front of her. "Stay behind me." The knocking came again, harder this time. A deep voice called out, "Miss Ellington, this is the Manhattan Police Department. We need to speak with you immediately." Harper felt her heart seize. Because behind that door wasn't danger, but news that would change the fate of their family forever. Harper's heart pounded as the heavy knocking echoed through the small Airbnb. Grant motioned for the kids to stay behind him, his posture protective and steady. When Harper finally opened the door, 2 uniformed officers stood beneath the flickering hallway light. Their expressions weren't harsh, but serious, in a way that made her stomach twist. "Miss Harper Ellington?" the taller officer asked. "Yes," she replied, voice quiet but composed. "We need to speak with you about the ongoing investigation involving Cole Maddox." Harper's pulse spiked. Is something wrong?" The officer exchanged a glance with his partner before answering. "Cole Maddox is currently in custody. We need to ask you some questions regarding events that took place several years ago, along with the safety of your children." Mira clutched Harper's dress. Alex moved closer. Jace's eyes narrowed suspiciously. Grant rested a steady hand on Harper's shoulder. You don't have to do this alone, he said softly. The officer nodded. Mr. Whitaker may accompany you. They sat around the small Airbnb dining table while the officers opened a notebook. Outside, the muffled hum of Manhattan carried on, unaware of the storm inside the room. Miss Ellington, the officer began, Mr. Maddox mentioned in his statement that he left you voluntarily and that you never informed him about your pregnancy. Deventer. Harper inhaled sharply. That's a lie. He knew. He left anyway. The officer nodded. We figured as much, but we need your confirmation on record. Harper's voice trembled slightly, but she held steady. I told him the night he threw me out. He didn't care. Mira wiped her eyes. Alex placed an arm around her shoulders. The second officer leaned forward. Miss Ellington. During his breakdown, Mr. Maddox also claimed you threatened him with fabricated evidence. Harper blinked. Threatened him? I've barely spoken to him in 7 years. Grant's jaw tightened. They're trying to determine whether Cole is attempting to shift blame. The officer continued. Mr. Maddox also stated that you and your children were working with outsiders to ruin him. Alex scoffed under his breath. He ruined himself. Harper took a slow breath. Officers, I have never wanted revenge. I only wanted peace for my children. Everything coming out now, that's Cole's doing, not mine. As for, Grant glanced at the officers, and if I may add, she's telling the truth. The tall officer closed his notebook. We believe you. And we want you to hear this from us directly. Cole's charges are escalating. His behavior today, both public and private, raised significant concern. Harper hesitated. Concern? About what? The officer spoke gently. About his mental stability. Jace swallowed. Is he dangerous? The officer paused before answering. We're not certain, which is exactly why we need to ensure you and your children are protected. A chill traveled through Harper. Grant's hand tightened protectively around the back of her chair. What happens now? She asked. We're assigning temporary protective surveillance outside your building, the officer said, just as a precaution. Harper nodded, though her insides churned. Thank you. As the officer stood to leave, the tall one gently added, Miss Ellington, you've endured more than most, but things are shifting in your favor now. Stay strong. After the door closed, silence settled over the room. The kids sat close to Harper, instinctively knowing the world felt heavier than ever. Grant pulled out his phone, scanning a new alert, and his face went pale. What is it? Harper asked. He turned the screen toward her. A live news banner flashed across the bottom. Cole Maddox escapes custody during transfer authorities searching downtown Manhattan. It's Umbre. Harper felt the color drain from her face. And then another headline appeared. Last seen near the neighborhood where Harper Ellington and her children are staying. The air in Manhattan shifted that night, heavy, electric, filled with a sense of danger that Harper Ellington could feel in her bones. Outside the Airbnb window, distant sirens wailed, bouncing between the tall buildings. The city looked different, less alive, more watchful. Grant immediately closed the blinds. No one goes near the windows, he said firmly. Alex ushered Mira to the couch. Jace checked the door lock twice. Harper stood frozen, trying to steady her breathing. He escaped custody, she whispered. Why is he coming here? Grant stepped closer, lowering his voice. He's spiraling. When men like Cole lose control, they go after the last thing they think they can still control. Us, Harper said softly. Grant nodded. He moved the kids behind him as he scanned the room. Harper, we need to stay together, and we need to stay alert. But Harper's mind drifted back to the moment she first met Cole years ago, the charming smile, the promises, the warmth that eventually turned cold. She had once trusted him with her life. Now she feared what he might do in a single moment of desperation. A loud bang startled everyone. Alex jumped to his feet. Mira gasped. Jace froze mid-step. Grant motioned for silence. Another thud, this time against the metal railing outside the door. Harper's breath hitched. Grant. He's here. Grant positioned himself between the door and the family. Kids, stay behind your mother. Harper, call 911. Harper's hands shook as she dialed, but before she could hit the call button, a voice came from the hallway, ragged, trembling, cracked by fear and rage. Harper, open the door. Mira whimpered. Alex put an arm around her. Jace moved closer to Harper, protective, despite the fear on his small face. Grant raised his voice, calm but firm. "Cole, step away from the door. Police are on their way." "No," Cole shouted. "No police. I need to talk to her. I need to fix this." "Cole," Harper said, voice soft but steady. "You need help. I need you to listen." His voice broke. "Everyone turned on me, everyone, but you're the one who started all of this. You destroyed me." Grant clenched his fists. "She told the truth. You destroyed yourself." The doorknob rattled violently. Harper grabbed her children, pulling them close. "Cole," she pleaded, "the kids are terrified. Please stop." Silence. A long, eerie silence. Then Cole's voice dropped to a whisper, fragile, desperate. "I never should have left you. I should have stayed. I made a mistake. Just let me see them. Let me see my kids. I deserve that." Alex stepped forward before Harper could stop him, anger burning in his eyes. "You don't get to use the word deserve. Not after what you said on camera." Cole pounded the door. "I didn't mean it," Jace shouted back, voice cracking. "You meant every word." Grant turned to Harper. "The police should be here any minute. We just need to hold on." But before relief could settle, the hallway erupted with panicked footsteps and shouting officers. "Sir, step away from the door. Put your hands where we can see them. Do it now. If we too." Cole's voice broke into a cry unlike anything Harper had ever heard from him. "No, please. I just need to talk to them, just my kids, please." A struggle followed. Boots scraping, metal clattering, Cole shouting her name. "Harper, Harper, please don't let them take me. I need to fix this." Harper closed her eyes as tears fell, not for the man he was, but for the man he never became. Then an officer's voice rang out. "We have him. And present." Relief washed through the room, until the officer added something that made Harper's heart stop. "Ma'am, he keeps saying he wasn't acting alone tonight." The police officer's warning echoed through the tiny Airbnb like a cold gust of wind. "He wasn't acting alone tonight." Harper's breath caught. Grant immediately stepped in front of her and the kids, his protective instincts sharpening. Alex stiffened, Jace's expression darkened, and little Mira clung tightly to Harper's waist. "What does that mean?" Harper asked, voice strained. The officer lowered his voice. "During the arrest, Mr. Maddox kept shouting a name he believed would finish what he started." "What name?" Grant demanded. The officer hesitated. "Sienna Vale." Harper felt a chill crawl up her spine. Grant exhaled sharply. "I knew she wouldn't go quietly. She's been spiraling since the scandal broke." The officer nodded. "We have reason to believe she may have attempted to approach this building." Several witnesses reported seeing a woman matching her description near the alley behind the complex. Mira whimpered. "She's scary, Mommy." Harper knelt, taking her daughter's face gently. "She can't hurt you, not with all these officers here." "But what does she want?" Alex asked, his jaw tight. "They want control," Grant answered. "And right now, they're losing every piece of it." The officer continued, "We'll sweep the area. For now, stay inside, lock the doors. Do not engage with anyone you don't know." When the officers left, Harper felt the weight of everything pressing down, years of abandonment, fear, trauma, struggle, now converging into a storm aimed at her and her children. She turned to Grant. "How much more can we take?" Grant's expression softened. "You're stronger than you think. And they're not children anymore, they're warriors." He looked at Alex and Jace. "You all are." Alex straightened. Jace nodded. Mira wiped her eyes. Then Harper's phone buzzed. A text. "Unknown number. Meet me at the place his lies started. If you want this to end." Attached was a photo. The house. Cole's old house. The one where he left her in the snow 7 years ago. A cold dread washed over her. Grant leaned in. "Harper, that's a trap." "I know." Her voice trembled. "But she wants me specifically. If I don't go, she may try something worse." "No," Grant said firmly. "You're not going alone." Alex stepped forward. "Neither are we." Harper shook her head immediately. "No, I will not put you in danger." Jace lifted his chin. "Mom, we've been part of this from the beginning. We're not letting you face the end alone." Grant placed a steady hand on Harper's shoulder. "Listen, Sienna might be unpredictable, but she's not stupid. She wants a psychological win, not a physical one. She wants to break your spirit. She wants to rewrite your story." Harper swallowed hard. Then I won't let her. And wanted Jay. She glanced at her children, 3 bright souls, who had survived more than most adults. She wasn't the broken girl in the snow anymore. She wasn't the abandoned wife. She was their mother, their protector, their voice. Okay, Harper whispered. We end this. Later that night, Grant drove them through the quiet outskirts of the city. Snowflakes drifted gently, echoing the night that changed Harper's life forever. As they approached the dark, silent house, Harper's hands trembled. Mira whispered, Mommy, do you think she's inside? Harper steadied her voice. Yes, and whatever she says, whatever she tries, she won't win. They stepped out of the car. The porch light flickered just like it had 7 years ago. The air was still. Too still. Grant scanned the shadows. Everyone stay behind me. A faint creaking noise came from inside the house. Then a voice, smooth, venomous, triumphant, echoed through the doorway. Come in, Harper. Let's finish what he started. Thanks for watching. In everyone. And Sienna Vale stepped into the light, holding something in her hand that made Harper gasp. Sienna Vale stepped into the light of the old porch, snow drifting around her like white sparks. In her hand wasn't a weapon, but a folder, thick and worn at the edges. Her smile was razor-sharp. This, she said, shaking it lightly, is everything Cole never wanted you to see. Grant moved protectively in front of Harper, but Sienna lifted a hand. Relax. I'm not here to hurt anyone. Cole dragged me into his collapse. He used me, lied to me. And do you know what men like him hate most? Losing control. She tossed the folder toward Harper. Papers scattered across the porch bank, transfers, fraudulent signatures, proof of Cole's manipulation, dating back years. Alex knelt, picking up a page. Mom, this is enough to finish his case. Sienna shrugged. Consider it my insurance. The world should know the truth. I was Nas. Harper looked at her closely, truly seeing the exhaustion beneath Sienna's sharp exterior. You didn't need to involve us like this. Sienna's smirk faltered. No, I didn't, but he made me believe you were the enemy. Turns out. She exhaled, voice trembling. You were just the only one who wasn't pretending. Grant stepped forward. Sienna, police are looking for you. She gave a small, defeated nod. I know, and I'm tired of running. She turned to Harper. This ends with you. You're not the victim, Harper. You're the threat he never saw coming. And with that, she stepped off the porch and walked toward the flashing lights approaching from down the street, hands raised. For the first time, Harper felt something strange toward Sienna. Not forgiveness. Not sympathy. But closure. Back in Manhattan, federal agents assembled the evidence. The folder Sienna surrendered became the final nail in Cole's legal coffin. Charges solidified. His attorneys withdrew. His bail was denied. On the news, anchors spoke his name with disappointment and scorn. A man who built a career on lies. A father who rejected his own children on live television. A downfall entirely of his own making. Justice had arrived heavy, inevitable. Days later, after the chaos settled, Harper took her children to Central Park. Snow still covered the grass. Mira made angel wings. Jace sketched the skyline. Alex watched their mother with quiet relief. Grant joined them, coffee in hand, expression warm. How are you feeling? He asked gently. Harper looked around her children laughing, the city calm at last. Lighter, she said. Freer. You deserve that, Grant replied. There was a soft pause before he added, You know, you don't have to carry everything alone anymore. Harper met his eyes. I'm learning that. He smiled a small, sincere smile that reached his eyes. Good, because I was hoping to ask you something. When you're ready? Harper's breath caught. Grant. He knelt not dramatically, not with an audience, just a man offering quiet devotion. I'm not asking for an answer today, he said, but someday, would you consider building a life with me? A life where you never walk through the snow alone again? Tears filled her eyes, but this time they were warm. Healing, she placed her hand over his. I think, someday, might not be as far away as you think. End quote. Alex, Jace, and Mira ran toward them, piling into a family hug that felt like a sunrise after years of darkness. For the first time, Harper saw her future clearly, steady, safe, full of love she had earned through every hardship. Her past was no longer a wound. It was a doorway. and as Grant wrapped an arm around her and the snow continued to fall softly, Harper Ellington finally stepped into the life she deserved. So, our story comes to an end. And if you're still here with us, right at this moment, then something in this journey must have touched your heart in its own quiet way. Maybe you saw a piece of yourself in Harper's strength, or in the children's courage, or even in the painful fall of someone who forgot what truly matters. Life has a way of breaking us open to reveal who we really are. The Stoics used to say, "The obstacle is the way." And Harper's journey reminds us that the moments meant to destroy us can become the very moments that rebuild us. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And just like Harper, we can choose what defines us, not betrayal, not fear, not the cruelty of others, but our response to it. If this story gave you hope, comfort, or even a clearer view of your own strength, then I'm grateful you stayed until the final second. Truly. And if you'd like more stories that heal, inspire, and remind us how powerful resilience can be, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your presence here means more than you know. Let's walk the next story together. You're not alone, not in this chapter, and not in the next.